Hello everyone, how are you? Today we're gonna start creating this animated building. We're gonna focus on the modeling first, and I'm gonna use primitives and very simple techniques, so if you're a beginner, I'm sure you're gonna do just fine. Later we're gonna animate, fill the background a little bit, lead this project and render it in either Cycles or Eevee. But more about that at the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you do, please don't forget to leave a like, that's more helpful than you think. You can also get the Blend file to support the channel, link in the description. Okay, let's begin. Let's start with the general template, go to camera view and in edit mode, scale on the Y and the X axis only to make this cube thinner. Back to object mode, I'm gonna enable cavity to see the objects better and add a cube to create the wall openings for the windows. Move it towards the front of the building and let's keep working on the shape. Remember, you could make other types of windows. Later we're gonna use this cube as a boolean object. We need an array modifier since I'm gonna create several windows. Let's go to front view to make sure the windows are centered. To add another row of windows, we need another array modifier, but this time on the set factor. Let's go to camera view to check how it's looking. I want the windows to be a bit smaller, and I want the rows to be a bit more separated from each other. And now we need to center them again. We need another cube for the door opening. Now scale it on the Y-axis to make it thinner, and move it to the front of the building. Let's scale it a bit more and move it down where the front door is supposed to be. Scale it a bit more until you're happy with the proportions. I want the windows to be smaller so they don't look too big in relation to the door. And we need to center them again. And let's make some final changes to the array modifier. And now I have enough space to make the door a bit bigger. Let's move it up a bit and move it towards the inside of the building. To create the openings for the side windows, duplicate this and rotate it 90 degrees on the Z-axis and place it. Let's move them a bit. And in this case, I only want 2 windows. Like I said, we're gonna use all these as boolean objects later. To create the roof, in edit mode, select the top face, duplicate it, escape, and separate by selection. Back to object mode, select this new object and in edit mode, extrude. Select all and scale up so the roof is bigger than the building. Now select the top face, insert face and extrude down. Let's take the 3D cursor to this face and back to object mode, add a cube for the chimney, scale it down and move it up a little bit. Let's scale it a bit more. In edit mode, select the top face, extrude, add this loop of faces to the selection and extrude along normals. And here we have our chimney. Place it. And I'm gonna make a linked duplicate, so in case I change the shape of one chimney in edit mode, the other one changes its shape too. I'm gonna move these front windows towards the inside of the building a bit, and now we're ready to add a boolean modifier to the building. Choose the boolean object, and now we can hide the mesh in viewport and in renders. And let's repeat. Add another boolean modifier. Set this mesh as the boolean object and hide. And one more time for the door. I want this opening to be a bit more notorious, so let's move this rectangle towards the inside of the building a bit. To create the pipes, let's take the 3D cursor back to the warp origin and add a Bezier curve. Rotate it, move it to the side of the building, rotate it, but this time on the X-axis. Let's change the rotation on the X-axis, and it looks a bit crooked, so I'm gonna rotate it again. In edit mode, select the top control point and rotate it. Now we need to add some depth to our curve so it starts looking like a pipe. Place it. Make sure it is not crooked. Move it to the front and rotate it a bit more. Let's place it closer to the roof. And now in edit mode, move the points to create the shape you want. Select both points and add some subdivisions. Let's delete this one and keep working on the shape. It is still crooked, so let's fix it. Let's rotate this middle point a bit more. Select these two control points and move them down to make the pipe longer. Rotate this one a bit more. Let's go to side view and move the control point to the side a bit until the pipe looks straight. I need to do the same with this one. Between these 2 points, let's add some subdivisions so the curve is easier to handle. And let's work on the shape a bit more. Make sure the pipe is close to the wall. And back to object mode, let's move the entire curve a bit more. One last touch up in edit mode. And since the pipe is too thick for the roof, select this loop of faces and scale it up a bit. To create the staircase, we need a cube. Scale it down and move it to the front. Let's make it shorter and more narrow and place it at the bottom of the building where the door is. In edit mode, add 2 loop cuts. Extrude this face. Copy the set value. Move it up a bit more and paste the set value. Now extrude this face. Paste the set value. The staircase is too tall, so add a loop cut here and let's delete the bottom faces. Select this bottom edge loop and fill. Back to object mode, let's move it down and I'm gonna tweak the size a bit. Let's take it closer to the building and it looks too wide, so I need to scale it a bit. And we need to move this boolean object a bit so it matches the staircase. Let's tweak the z-axis a bit more until it matches the height of the stairs perfectly. To create the block, add a cube and scale it down on the z-axis. Let's move it down and move it a bit to the front. In edit mode, we could select these edges and bevel them. You can play with the width, and there are many options here to choose from. I'm gonna show you a few different looks you can get by playing around with the settings. I'm gonna stick with this one. To create the window frames, duplicate this. Hide the original, let's enable X-ray mode. And scale it up a bit so it is a bit bigger than the wall openings. In edit mode, select both the front and back face, insert face and delete. Now we need to connect these edges. Let's hide the building, select these 2 outer faces and fill. Now select these 2 and this one as well. And let's keep doing this until we've completed the whole window. Make sure you don't select an inner edge. Let's fix the array modifiers so the window frames match the openings. Let's fix this array modifier now. I'm going to scale it a bit on the Z-axis. And now let's duplicate the frames and take them to the side windows. Delete this array modifier and let's place these frames. Let's hide the overlays to see a bit better and move the frames if you need to until they fit perfectly. Duplicate the frames again and scale them down to create double hung windows. Let's fix the array modifiers so the frames fit in. Scale on the y-axis to make the windows thinner. Set the cursor to the window and in edit mode add the plane to create the glass. Rotate the plane 90 degrees on the x-axis and scale it down. Let's make things easier to see and make sure the glass is not covered by the building. Duplicate and move it down. And move it to the inside a bit. Move both frames forward a bit and let's scale both frames so they both fit. Now I need to move the windows up a bit. And I need to scale it a tiny bit on the x-axis to fill the openings a bit better. And now we have to tweak the array modifiers again. Let's change this array modifier now, and since we changed this value, we need to match it here. Select the side windows, set the cursor to the window, and in edit mode add the plane to create the glass. Rotate the plane 90 degrees on the y-axis and scale it down. To create the blinds, duplicate the windows, hide the original one, and in edit mode, delete everything but the plane. Double A to deselect all, L to select the frame only and delete. Now we only have the plane. Let's show the frame, and don't forget to show the frame and the blinds in renders in case you missed it. Move the plane forward, move the bottom edge up a bit, fix the array modifier. Let's add some loop cuts. Select one face and split. As you can see, now this face is separated from the rest, but is still in the same object. Let's repeat. Alt-M is the shortcut to be quicker. I'm gonna take a moment to make sure the windows are enabled in renders. And remember, the booleans object have to be hidden in viewport and in renders. For the camera, I decided to change it to orthographic, but in the final video where I'll address the lighting as well, I made more changes to the settings to get the final look. To model the door, let's duplicate this mesh, hide the original one, and remember to show this new duplicate in renders. Scale it down a bit. In edit mode, add a loop cut, escape, and select these two faces. Inset face, enable individual, and extrude inwards. I want the middle of the door to be smaller, so let's select these two faces and scale down on the Z-axis. Remember to set the pivot point to median point. And scale the door a bit on the Y-axis until it fits the opening, and move it on the Y-axis a bit as well. I need to scale it up a bit on the Z-axis, and move it up a bit. To create the door handle, select this vertex and set the 3D cursor there and add a UV sphere. Let's scale it down and place it. Select all these faces and delete. Now select this edge loop, let's scale it a bit and extrude on the Z-axis. Place the cursor on the handle and L to select the handle only. Rotate minus 90 degrees on the X-axis and place it. I want the knob to be a bit smaller, so enable X-ray mode to make sure we select all the faces. Let's deselect this loop of faces and scale down. Move it on the Y-axis. Now select this edge loop to make this part shorter. And let's move the handle again. I want it to be a bit lower, so let's see where it looks best. To create this final decor, select the building and duplicate it. In edit mode, select the top face and move it down. Select all and scale up. Add a loop cut. Bevel and try to match the width of the stairs. Delete this face. Add another loop cut right here. Select this face and delete. I want to move this edge loop a bit. Double shift to slide the edge loop. Now select the three edges and fill. And repeat. Delete this bottom face. Select these two faces and set the pivot point to median point so both faces scale towards the middle. Add a loop cut right here. Copy this value. Add another loop cut. Paste the value, but make sure it's negative this time. And add one last loop cut. Now we need to select all these faces. Let's make sure we've selected the right faces and delete. Select this edge loop and dissolve edges. And repeat. Now select these two edges and fill. Select these two edges, add this one to the selection and fill. And repeat. Select this edge loop and fill. And one more time. and we finished modeling our building. Now that wasn't so hard, was it? Now all that is left is to animate the objects, add some background elements, turn on the lights, create the materials, and choose our final camera settings. But that, my friends, is a subject for another video. Remember, you have several ways to support this channel. If you're excited about the next part of this tutorial series, let me know in the comments. I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Bye!